Afternoon, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters and the Pathfinder School, and also one of the co-owners of the Pathfinder Knife Shop. And today's video is going to be about Pathfinder brand knives. So I've done some videos in the past and talked about our knife shop, talked about the reason that we started a knife shop, how we make our knives. I've done some videos from inside the knife shop. All of our knives are handmade. They're all made in the United States and they all have a lifetime warranty. So one of the main goals with the Pathfinder Knife Shop from the very beginning was to be able to make an affordable knife with a lifetime guarantee that would be a trusted tool for you and for you to pass on to generations beyond you. Affordability is a question of what you can afford. What I feel is an affordable knife is something that falls into that $100, less than $200 range, depending on how much steel and how much intricacy is in that knife. And one of the things that we strive for is simple, tried and true designs, simple, tried and true handle materials that you can trust, that are aesthetically pleasing, but they're not gaudy. So we don't use a lot of fancy handle materials. We use generally wood, some micarta, mostly curly maple, sometimes walnut. We have done ash and things like that, but for the most part, our mainstay is curly maple. That is a well-trusted knife handle all the way back into the 1800s. Some of our designs are based on designs from the 1800s, 1900s time frame, and they're tried and true designs. And so the design intent of those knives is fairly specific, but they can be utilitarian if you like that specific blade profile and geometry. So let's kind of walk through these knives a little bit and talk about them. All of these knives are priced less than $200, more than $100. Most of the time, less than $150. I do not sell my knives with a sheath. And I get people who critique that both directions. You can say, well, if the knife doesn't have a sheath, then I have to buy a sheath, so it's extra money. Or, I'd rather make my own sheath, so I'd rather not pay the extra money for the sheath and have to buy it. I'd rather just buy the raw knife. Or I already have a sheath that will fit that knife. Or maybe in the case of our website, you have a selection of sheaths that may fit that knife at different price points and different materials and different manufacturers, all again made in the United States. So you can pick and choose what sheath you want to add with your knife. And we give you a selection process to do that at checkout if you'd like to buy a sheath with your knife. That helps us keep costs down as well. So let's talk about some of our mainstay designs, because we don't have a whole lot of designs. I'm not about throwing some design at the wall like a piece of gum and hoping it sticks and hoping people buy it. I'm about tried and true designs with specific design intents on those knives or specific historical replication. That's really what I'm about when it comes to making knives, because I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So let's talk about the first knife that we ever came out with in our Pathfinder line, which has really kind of been the flagship knife of our entire knife shop, which is the Pathfinder Scorpion. Now, this Pathfinder Scorpion is the Outfitters edition of that knife. So it has a barrel type broomstick handle on it. It has about a 4.5-inch blade with a Scandinavian grind, and it is an 1/8-inch 1095 blade with plain walnut scales on this one. Generally speaking, these come in curly maple. My personal one is walnut. I like just a plain Jane wood. I'm after a tool and nothing more. I'm not trying to make something fancy or carry something fancy that I'm afraid to scratch up. I'm afraid to get it tore up. I'm afraid to use it for the task that I want to use it for. And I don't want to put it in a showcase. So I want a plain Jane utilitarian knife that will do whatever I want it to do, take all the beating I want to give it, and it's guaranteed for life. And the Scorpion has been, again, a really, really good mainstay seller for us. And I designed this knife as a utilitarian bush crafting knife. It's not overly long. It's about 4.5 inches, like I said, 4.25 to 4.5. It's got a nice Scandinavian grind to 0, which means it stays sharp for a good period of time and sharpens easy in the field. It is 1095 high carbon steel, and even Ethan Becker would tell you that 1095 is the best knife steel because it's simple, it's repeatable. And that's what's really important with knives, is that you have repeatability. It's one thing to make a one-off knife and say, here's the knife. It's something else to say, here's 100 of them and they're exactly the same. And doing that by hand in a small shop with a few employees is very, very difficult to achieve without things like jigs and training. So that's what we try to do at the Pathfinder Knife Shop. This is probably my most carried knife, one of my most carried. I probably have two that are my favorites. This is one of my most carried knife profiles. Again, Bushcraft Design 10. This is the one that came off my belt today to do this video. Now, let's talk about another design that I came out with that has been very popular. It was also popularized because I let someone put their logo on a knife that I designed, okay? And that's the other knife that I carry quite often, and when I designed it, I was in love with it. And that is the Pathfinder Knife Shop Camp and Trail. And this is a very much butcher style knife design with a 3/32 1095 blade. This one happens to be in curly ash. Again, it's generally curly maple. It has the same broomstick style design handle, so it's easy to grip. No matter how your hand contours, this will give you a good grip on the knife. It has a nice butcher knife style design, which is one of the most popular knives throughout the 18th and 19th century, with just a normal butcher knife design. So the design intent of this is a camp and hunting style knife that you can not only butcher, game, and cut up meat with, you can also use this for more difficult tasks like processing firewood if you need to. It does have a 5-inch blade. It has a nice small drop point and hump here like all butcher knives have. And it, again, is made of 3/32 1095. This knife is also one of my favorites to carry. So those two designs really are my favorites. If you were going to ask, what are your favorite designs in the Pathfinder Knife Shop line? I would tell you that the two knives, the Camp and Trail and the Scorpion, are my two favorites. Again, I designed the Camp and Trail. I designed it about 4 or 5 years ago, and I allowed another person to put their logo on it to help them out and give them something. They loved the knife design, so I gave them the opportunity to put their logo on that knife to be able to help promote that knife and give them a percentage of the sales of that knife at the same time. That's no longer the case, and this knife is only made with the Pathfinder Knife Shop logo on it. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about a couple historical designs here. Now, I'm going to grab one of these knives out of the box real fast for you, because some of these are in sheaths and some of these are brand new in the box and have never been used. So when you receive your knife from the Pathfinder Knife Shop, it will come in a nice black Pathfinder Knife Shop cardboard box. It will have inside the box a warranty card that tells you that knife is guaranteed for a lifetime. Also in the box, you'll probably get a Pathfinder Knife Shop sticker. Your knife will come wrapped in bubble wrap. Now, I've already unwrapped this one because it also has a blade over the top. It has a blade guard over the top made of cardboard. And it's wrapped completely in cellophane after it's stained and final oiled to keep it pristine when you receive it. This knife is called the Wood Muck. You can tell by looking at this, this is a quite Nessmuck style design. It's got flatter, less rounded handles so that you get a good grip on it. It's got a broomstick shape to it, very similar to Nessmuck's knife in his book that had actually an antler handle on it, very similarly shaped to this. This is curly maple. It's 1/8 inch. It is almost 5 inches long, or right at 5 inches long. It's got that typical Nessmuck hump in it in the belly. And again, it's 1095 steel, right? Design intent of that knife, obviously this is a Nessmuck style knife. So if you like the Nessmuck style, there you go. Again, wrapped in cellophane when you get it. I had to take that cellophane off to show you the knife, but I wanted to go through that with you guys today. I don't have exact prices of every one of these blades off the top of my head, but I can tell you that they're all 150-ish or less, okay? Let's talk about another historical design here and talk about the Kephart, okay? This is our Kephart Camp Master Edition. Spear point very much like Kephart carried. Small finger guard here, just like Kephart's design. Flatter handle scales, again, just like Kephart's design. And I've had an original Kephart in my hand, so I know exactly what it looks like and exactly what it feels like. And this is as close as you're gonna get in my mind. Curly maple scales. This one is 3/32. This is the Campmaster edition of this knife. This one has a 3/32 inch blade. It is the Campmaster edition. The original Kephart that we sold had an 1/8 inch blade. This one is 3/32. We do have a Kephart XL, that's an 1/8 inch blade. That is a full 5 inch blade. This one has about a 4 1/4 inch blade, like the original Nesmic. This is pretty much an identical design to the original Nesmic, except it has curly maple handles on it and a lanyard hole instead of just walnut handles. Okay, let's go back to the Scorpion for a minute. Like I told you, the original Scorpion was our flagship model. To this day, still is. We make a couple iterations of that knife. This one is the Scorpion HD. The original Scorpion had a contoured handle. The Outfitters edition has a barrel handle. This is the Scorpion HD, very much a French trade knife style blade, right at 5 inches. This knife is a very heavy duty survival type knife. If you want something that's very traditional in nature as your survival knife or your one tool option, okay? It's a heavy duty knife. That's why it's called the Scorpion HD. We also make that Scorpion, or have made that Scorpion, in what was called the Scorpion XL, which was an 1/8 inch Scorpion with a 5 inch blade. So the same blade length as this, 1/8 inch instead of 3/16. Speaking of traditional type knives, okay? Our smallest knife that we currently make in our lineup is called the Camp Companion. It is very much a bird trout style knife or patch knife, depending on how you want to look at it. It's got the same profile or similar profile to both of those. It has a curly maple handle that you can get plenty of grip on, but it's got a nice small Scandinavian carving blade on it for things like skinning, small carving tasks, whittling around camp, and butchering game. Very, very good knife. We sell a neck sheath with this knife so it can hang in front of you. This is one of my favorite knives to use during trapping season when I'm actually processing fur, is this particular knife. Design intent of this knife was, again, small carving tasks and whittling around camp, processing game. It is an 1/8 inch, 1095, high carbon steel again with curly maple handles. Probably if I had to say what's my third favorite knife in our lineup, it would be this one. Okay, so now let's talk about traditional hunting style knives, because we've got a couple different iterations of that I want to walk you through today. The first one is the Mountaineer. And the Mountaineer is not only a hunting style knife, it's also very much a survival one tool option knife. This is a 5 inch, 3/16 blade, curly maple handles, 1095, contoured handle, but it is a heavy duty knife. You can punish this thing like no tomorrow and you're not gonna hurt it a bit, I can guarantee you. Again, that's why they're guaranteed for life. But if you need a larger blade for doing larger tasks like processing firewood, things like that, you want to carry a one tool option, this is a great option for that. And again, this is the Mountaineer, okay? We have a similar blade profile to the Mountaineer called the Wildcat, and it is 1/8 inch material, and it's only a little over 4 inches long instead of right at the 5 inches long of the Mountaineer. I'm going to show you that knife next. So basically it is a shorter rendition of the Mountaineer with slightly thinner steel. So you could liken that to the Scorpion HD versus the regular Scorpion. The HD being 3/16 and the regular Scorpion being 1/8 inch. Same thing here. You have about a 4 inch blade It's got some width to it, but it's only 1/8 inch steel. So this is a great hunting knife. Good for processing game, deer and up, no question about it. This knife will definitely do that job for you, as well as be able to perform camp tasks needed, busting up kindling, things like that if you need to make a fire. You can get way up on this blade because of that 4-inch length for skinning and things like that if you need to. And that's really the design intent behind this knife, is to be a hunting style knife. Now, there are two knives that we didn't really talk about that are kind of in our mainstay repertoire of blades. One of them is the forest tool, which is a large cutting tool made for clearing track, clearing forest, clearing trail, busting brush, very machete-esque in nature, but made of heavier material in that it is 1/8 inch with about a 13-inch blade. Curly maple handle. Can't hardly keep them in stock every time we make them, but we do limited runs about once every 6 months, 50 or so, and we sell them out. And then we have to go through our lineup until we get back to them again, and then we make them again. But it is a very popular tool, and it was designed for, like I said, trail clearing and things like that, or more dense environments like jungles, bamboos, things like that down south that you don't have in eastern woodlands. But in eastern woodlands in the summertime, when you've got a lot of vines, brambles, tangles, things like that, it's a great knife to carry in the summertime as well, and then replace it with an axe in deep winter. So that was the design intent behind that, and it was taken from a Tony Lopez design. That's the only knife in our lineup that I didn't specifically design. That knife was first made by Tony Lopez and sent to me as a machete in machete thickness material. And I asked him if I could make that knife in a thicker material for the eastern woodlands, and we made it with Jeff White. And after Jeff White stopped making knives for us because he really had to concentrate on making knives for himself at that point in time, he didn't have enough to branch out anymore. We started making them ourselves, and that's the current rendition of that forest tool today. Although again, that is one knife that was designed by someone else, and that was Tony Lopez as far as the blade profile goes. The other knife that we haven't shown is the buffalo skinner. And the buffalo skinner is exactly that. It looks like a buffalo skinning knife from the 1800s. It's 1/8 inch steel. It was designed after a butcher knife that I bought. If you go back in my videos, the $3 butcher knife that I bought at some event or rummage sale for like $3, and had an 1/8 inch forged blade on it with plain Jane walnut scales. And it was my favorite knife for years and years and years and years. And so we made a rendition of that knife at the Pathfinder Knife Shop called the Buffalo Skinner. Guys, listen, that's kind of just a walkthrough of some of our mainstay designs. A little talk about why I stay away from fancy materials, fancy metals. I think all of that is just, butter on the applesauce. Let's just put it that way. I think that if you're gonna make a tool that you're gonna use in the woods and you want that thing to do every task you can throw at it, you want it to be easy enough to resharpen, easy enough to hone, easy enough to maintain. You want it to be able to throw sparks off with a rock if you have to use it for flint and steel. You want it to be able to scrape the ferro rod because you're putting a 90-degree spine on the actual knife itself, or to be able to process material like fat woods and things like that. 1095 is the best material choice for that, and I guarantee you someone like Ethan Becker would agree as well. So I stay away from things that are too fancy. Number one, to keep costs down. Number two, because I don't think they're any better as long as the heat treatment is correct. 1095 knife is gonna last you forever. I can guarantee it. That's why we have a lifetime guarantee on these blades. Guys, listen, I appreciate your support. I appreciate your views. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business. I appreciate everything that you do, coming to the website and things like that on a daily basis, and checking out our new products, checking out things that we have that we may have been out of stock on and back in stock. And I know that seems to be an issue with everybody right now because there's still supply chain issues. So you still have out of stock issues all around the world, but we try to do the best we can for you. Guys, I appreciate everything, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. So thanks for watching.